which was heavily implicated in taxi killings. Nhlanhla Mabaso has more.
When proceedings resumed today, evidence leader advocate Tembeka Nqaitobi questioned Spamandla Mhlongo about the alleged plan to kill him. Mhlongo, who was detained by the Cato Manor squad at the time, claims the former Hawks head Johan Boysen also knew about the alleged plot. When asked to explain his testimony, this is what he told the commission.
Major General Boysen was at the crime scene when Mr. Zondi was killed. And during the trial, it was established that the investigating officer was briefing the superiors, which will include Mr. Boysen.
He says interventions by a relative who worked for the Hawks spared his life.
There was a call that was made by my brother, W.S. Mhlongo, who was the head of the Hawks in KZN during the time. He phoned Mr. Boysen to tell him that I mustn't be killed under a false pretense that I have taken a gun or I've tried to take a gun from the police in the police cells.
Proceedings are continuing. Nhlanhla Mabaso, Eyewitness News.
With the local government elections fast approaching, a new study reveals the majority of voters are dissatisfied with the impact of democracy on their lives. This is contained in a new voter participation survey commissioned by the IEC, which measures South Africans' confidence in democracy. In its study, the Human Sciences Research Council has found that the demand for democracy is at a historic low. The latest survey was conducted through face-to-face interviews with citizens aged 16 years and older across all provinces in the country. Promotional has more.
According to data presented by the Human Sciences Research Council, about 68% of South Africans had confidence in democracy in 2004. However, this was the highest recorded figure in the country's democratic history, and the trend line suggests a steady decrease since then. Dr. Ben Roberts, the research director at the HSRC, says the latest survey suggests that while only 17% of voters are satisfied with democracy, a whopping 68% isn't.
There's a significant positive association between satisfaction with the functioning of democracy and satisfaction with the prevailing general economic situation in the country. So economics is part of the reason why the public has become more and more discontent.
The study indicates that the largest drop in confidence in democracy was recorded in KZN and Mpumalanga. Alpha Ramshwana, Eyewitness News, Johannesburg.
Trade union COSATU has called on government to urgently intervene and act ahead of the fuel hike next month. The Central Energy Fund says petrol could increase by 5 rand a litre with a fuel levy of 8 cents, while diesel may skyrocket by 8 rand with a 9 cents fuel levy. Now, the Road Accident Fund fuel levy will add a further 7 cents per litre come April 1st. COSATU's Matthew Park says the fuel levies should be the first to go.
The first immediate thing government could do, like it had done during the 3 years ago when the war in Ukraine started, we had a similar, albeit smaller increase of about 3 rand a litre, is to reduce the fuel taxes and levies, which consume about a third of the fuel price.
Parks is calling on government to activate the 32 billion rand disaster reserves to alleviate pressure on consumers. He says a 25% hike in petrol is unsustainable to commuters and farmers.
Most workers have spent about 40% of their salary just to get to work, and to increase that to 60%, that's just going to be a blow we can't sustain.
And the Football Supporters Europe group has filed a lawsuit with the European Commission against FIFA. The group, along with Euro consumers, have accused the Football Association of abusing its monopoly over World Cup ticket sales to impose excessive prices and unfair conditions to fans. The FSC says the prices for the final on July 19th are way above those for the 2022 final in Qatar. Euro consumers and its partners are urging the EU to intervene, including imposing price caps and forcing greater transparency over ticket sales. Gold is trading at $4,415.40 an ounce. The rand is at 16.97 to the dollar, 22.72 to the pound, 19.67 to the euro. Brent oil is at $101.20 a barrel.
Leaving the Joburg CBD bumper-to-bumper traffic in Selby on the M2 westbound between the Crown Interchange and Main Reef Road, and in Midrand traffic sluggish on the N1 northbound from Ellendale to New Road.
A cloudy Tuesday in store for Gauteng with scattered afternoon showers and thundershowers expected. Temperatures will peak at highs of between 22 and 24 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour, the Nkabinde inquiry has heard about an alleged plot to kill a Kwama Pumulo taxi boss by Kato Manor unit back in 2009, but was spared by a relative.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
You're with Relebogile Mabotja
Live, streaming countrywide
on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM.
Seven minutes after 1 o'clock. Welcome to 7:02 Afternoons with me, Relebogile Mabotja. Happy Tuesday. Thank you so much, Khomotso Modise, for standing in for me yesterday. Now, we're going to be jumping into a conversation we started last week, and we were asking around parents, community members, community leaders, what do we do if we see kids not in school, children that are school-going age, not in school, and we see them either on the streets roaming unsupervised or dancing at the robots or working for money? What do we do? And that was the experience that I had, but we'll do a quick recap when we come into the conversation. And we do have joining us Kifilwe Mojabelo, who's a psychotherapist and social worker, on that conversation. In our take feature, we are talking Edtech-AI transforming classrooms. Vula Philippides, who's future ready lead at Extra Mark Education South Africa, will join us for that conversation. The second hour of the show, it's the series edition on different types of retirement. And today is going to be, us talking around deferred retirement in our episode 3. Wayne Heller van Rensburg will join us, Executive Director of the Institute of Retirement Funds Africa. Don't worry if you've missed the other episodes, primemediaplus.com, or download the app. And then we wrap up with our car feature. We'll be talking about unpacking what makes Stellantis' Leap Motor EV brand stand out. Janus Janse van Rensburg, Head of Marketing and Sales for Leap Motor at Stellantis, will join us for that conversation as they are sponsoring our car feature as well. So get in touch with us, 011 883 0702, SMS us 31702, tweet at Relebogile M, at Radio 702 using the hashtag 702 Afternoons, and the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702.
702 Afternoons
with Relebogile Mabotja
on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
So to bring context, last week, I think it was Wednesday or Thursday, I was driving into work and discovered at the intersection kids that were dancing just here on Santon Drive, not far from Winnie Madikizela Drive, or Winnie Mandela Drive rather. And they were dancing for money. But to me, they looked 9 or 10 years old. And I thought to myself, aren't these kids supposed to be in school? Looked around, did not see an adult. They were collecting money from motorists and brought it here where we had a conversation to say, what are children that are supposed to be in school but aren't in school doing? Where are they? And what can we do about it as a community? Because in my mind, it works against a child's interest. Now, we did commit to inviting the Department of Social Development to this conversation, which we did extend the invitation. They had initially confirmed that they're sending someone, and as it stands, they are now not responding, but we did make our best efforts to have the department as part of this conversation as we continue with part 2. We do, though, have a psychotherapist and social worker, Kifilwe Mojabelo, who will join us for this conversation as we pick up where we left off to help with guidance on what we can do as a community, but also touch on the impact and the realities and maybe even the different reasons that children who or of a certain age group are not in school? What are the reasons that they are not in school? And again, because my experience was a child not being in school, being out on the street, there are other places that people will see children. Maybe a child is supposed to be in school. I mean, we've heard of these horror stories, right? I can't remember which area it happened in, Boksburg, Benoni, somewhere there, where the story was of this parent that was holding the family hostage, like in the basement or something crazy like that. And children that are school going age were just not going to school. Maybe you might not know that, but what do we do if we cannot actually, if you are seeing a child that is not in school during school going hours? It's not holidays. The other issue that was brought up was by one of the parents was to say sometimes the kids are roaming around because the school will close early. They will ask us to collect our children earlier because maybe there's a concert or something happening, and then they end up just roaming around. And from her view, they end up without, adult supervision, where things like bullying can occur. Another reason that was shared was to say some of these children are roaming the streets without adult supervision, maybe because the curriculum finished early and then they just decide not to go to school or to leave school. 011 883 0702, the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702. I want to hear from you. I think what we can do maybe is pose all of these questions to the department in their absence, but we'll also hear from our guest on her thoughts.
702 Afternoons
with Relebogile Mabotja.
12 minutes after 1 o'clock, we continue with our conversation. 011 883 0702, the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702. I now welcome psychotherapist and social worker Kifilwe Mojapelo to the conversation. Kifilwe, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much, Relebogile, and a good afternoon to the listeners as well.
Kifilwe, I'm not sure how much of the conversation that we had last week you heard, but I have to be honest, I was extremely disturbed by the whole thing. I had my rant on social media, and I will read some of the comments that come from that particular community, but we also had many people that were commenting and quite unhappy, with some saying, in this day and age, things have changed. The community can't even say anything because sometimes it's even the parents themselves who will come at you.
It definitely, and that's the sad reality. I think when maybe we were the last generation before the Gen Zs to believe in the notion of it takes a village to raise a child. Now it's like every man for himself and God for us all, sadly.
Oh, and I think it also stems from fear because times have changed so much. I wouldn't be comfortable with a stranger disciplining my child, considering how, we all come from very different homes and our ideas of discipline do not all align.
True, but I think the basis is, can't we agree that to a large degree the basis is the same? If we were to probably have the conversation to say, you can't hit my child, of course, even though hitting is even worse, it's against the law. So those standards to say, but I'm sorry, but I'm not going to keep quiet when your child does something wrong. Unfortunately, it's just in my nature. I even stop on the road when I see kids begging on the street, and I stop, and my husband will be like, when some of the days the kids will hit you. And I'm like, let's see. And I can tell you with my 15 years of professionalism or in this profession, I've never been hit. Or maybe the approach or the boldness to stop and say, Mara Papa, what is happening? Instead of just blatantly shouting or anything. It's always the coming with the mindset to explore what made this child be here at this point. Why are they not in school? And I think even to a large degree, you even reminded me, I think this conversation with the producer spoke to me. It reminded me of the same situation that happened, I think, a few weeks back when I was from Johannesburg from my place, Deval, going to Pretoria. On the road, I see kids dancing and bringing, those ones that on the robots. And I was so young, I was like, these are children. And I was so disturbed to a point where I stopped and I just held traffic and I was like, sorry, Papa, what is happening? And then fortunately, the guy behind me also started speaking to say, Lenzani Lana, go home. And then, luckily, the children went home. And until this day, I've never seen him standing at that place again.
In my case of the similar situation, I wasn't in a position to pull over because it's 4 lanes and I was in the middle already moved, right? And I would have wanted to ask them, but my realization was how I don't even know who to call. There is a fear, and maybe you can share with us. There is a fear in calling the police. I already saw some people last week when I said, should we be calling the police, who came and said, guys, sometimes the police make situations worse where now cases of child neglect are opened or things like that. So maybe share with us and we can take it a step back. What are you seeing in terms of children of that age group not being in school? What are some of the reasons that you are hearing of? And we're not talking exceptions of, okay, this child was, let's say the parent died and they're at home grieving. We're not talking those exceptional circumstances, but the ones where you as a grown person are wondering why this child is in the streets and not in school during school hours.
So, rightfully said, because circumstances are different. And however, we are guided by the Children's Act, which the Children's Act 38 of 2005, and the Section 7 beautifully highlights what the best interest of the child entails. So guided by that, what do we do now? Because I think most of us do see on the robots for what is happening. Why is this child there? Some are foreigners, some are this, some are that. It's always different circumstances when you get to or discover. So, but the question always remains, what do we do? Like you're saying, I don't know who to call. So Section 150, it says that it stipulates or outlines what it means when the child is in need of care and protection. And definitely the child who is in need of care and protection, of course, it includes things such as the child who's been abandoned or orphaned and does not have ability to support himself or herself, displays behavior which cannot be controlled by the parent. But let's come to this one of Section 151, subsection B, which says, subsection C rather, which says, if the child lives or works on the street or begs for a living. So already you are covered under this to take any measures as a person observing. And then subsection E also says, or the child has been exploited or lives in circumstances that exposes them to child exploitation. Because we can agree to say a child is vulnerable when they're put on the street there. No matter what, I cannot understand the psychology of a child. If the child, I'm in the child's shoes now to say they don't know what's happening. But imagine a child as young as few months, they go up in the street and a robot that you always see them at. To this age, the child is walking. What does this teach a child? What does it in them imprints about or about being fed? So I must beg and live on the street. So
can I ask you a question? Just there was a line you said that you read. Could you just repeat that line again? Something about them being exposed to exploitation.
So it says the heading is child in need of care and protection, and section 151 subsection E stipulates that if the child is in need of care and protection, if they have been exploited or lives in circumstances that expose the child to exploitation.
So the reason I wanted you to repeat that is because I think the way it's worded is so perfect around the concept of exploitation. The way you've explained it of, if a 6-month-old is just being raised on the side of the road while the mother's putting her hand out begging, then that is not a healthy environment for a child. Number 2 is the exploitation part. It just got me thinking around the number of young people who will share that they were told from a certain age that the moment they matriculate, or even some of them might even drop out of school because they're being told that we need to eat at home. So yes, and the thing is, and I'm even saying because for some, they might not, some parents, maybe they don't value education, and to them, rona re godile ka sub A fela and re sharp, or re godile ka this. So maybe chat to us, and I do see you, Clippy, holding patiently. We're going to go to the lines and your questions on the voice notes. Maybe share with us what some of those narratives are happening in homes, which are terrifying, where the breadwinner dies. Now the 16-year-old is being told, now you're the man of the house.
Exactly. And once a child is exposed to those kind of environment, and breaking that socialization aspect becomes very difficult when you have to deconstruct those views later on in life. So going back, when you are told by that, who's telling you? The parent. The parent are coming from which generation? So I'm just making a narration so that we understand what also puts people there. This parent also grew up with the sub-A, doesn't know much, and they grew up in apartheid where they were not exposed to education and all that. So they can never see the importance of education in their heads. All they know is we must go and eat. That's how I made a living when I was 16 at your age. I provided for my family. Forgetting that times have changed, and now we are a school-going age. We are not getting married at 16. We are no longer having 10 children, So they don't understand that. So my work normally is always to go back without judging, to really explore. So normally when in circumstances where we probably are on the stage, let's say the situation is here, I'm seeing a child, what am I supposed to do as a social worker, or what the department is supposed to do? We take this child, you stop, you go and investigate for what is happening here, because it's our job. And we should, going back to your issue again of involving the police, actually we should, because the police and us are the main people, according to Section 152, that have the power to even remove a child in circumstances that really compromise their best interest without even a court order.
Yes.
We can do that.
Especially because it's active and it's in the moment. So what I want to do, Kifilwe, we are going to jump into what you should do and what the correct protocol is, because I think there's also a fear of being involved. You know that there are those people who have a fear of now, come be a witness, come now to give a statement and all those things. So we're going to come back to that. I want to go to the lines. Clippy from Benoni. Hi, Clippy. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, what I'm saying is, me, I often ask when I see kids doing such those things. But unfortunately, as you can see, the kids, they are different in minds there. There are some who are just vulnerable, and then they got influenced by others. You understand? And the problem is even the response that you're going to get from them, sometimes it's sour, and then when it's sour like that, as you are an old person, you're gonna act like you're threatening them as if you can beat them, and then once you and then until you notice that some between them, they are not even afraid of you if you even threatening to beat them. I can tell you that not long ago, I think maybe the past 2 weeks, I experienced an incident like that, but those ones, they were claiming like they're fixing the road, those who are fixing the road and ask for money. And then I stopped there because I can see they are very young in age. They cannot do nothing they can do and make difference. I called them, they were three. I called them that, please come here. And then, what are you doing here? Two of them came to me. I asked them, I said, where are your parents? Well, they responded their way, my parents are not here, and then whatever, blah, blah. There was one of them who was just standing there. And I asked that one, that, why you standing there? He said, no, me, I'm not with them. As you can see, me, I'm doing nothing here. I'm not asking for money. And I threatened to beat those one. I said, Vice, I came out from my car. They ran away, those two. And then that one who was standing there, the boss, when I get into my car driving away, he was showing me a middle finger.
So he was the one arranging for these kids to be working.
Exactly. It's when I noticed that one who was saying, I'm not involved, I'm not doing the same thing as they are doing. And then he's standing there. Actually, he is the boss, because they are very young in such a way that they couldn't even do that. I think maybe they can be 9, 8, between 8 and 11. But as I'm saying that always when you you're trying to get involved in those types of incidents, you must always be ready for those sour responses.
And I think what you're saying is so accurate in terms of it's not like a child will just happily be like, no, fine, I'll just go back home. But thank you for sharing. Kifilio, I'm going to give you a moment to respond. Prince from Tembisa, hi.
Hi, Sister Lebu, how are you?
Good, thanks, and you?
Good. What a painful, topic, man. We've seen this in daily basis, man. And it's so
Prince,
painful.
is your radio on? We're getting feedback.
Yes, what I'm saying is we've seen this in daily basis. And it's so painful, especially we, as parents, I think we have a huge responsibility to play there. We cannot keep on blaming whosoever or whatsoever department, but in monitoring our kids and what do we teach our kids in daily basis. Because what is happening, sometimes I even feel painful. It's not even kids only, even these women who are begging by the robots. Sometimes you see women begging with maybe a 7-year child, and then sometimes they even send those children to go and ask from the motorists. Imagine if I usually think of a scenario where you are sending a kid. What about if that stranger, whosoever is driving, can pick up the child and run away? What would happen?
And
I think as parents, we need to play a huge role, keep our children, and let's teach them maybe the importance of education.
Sure, thank you.
Rather than begging from the robots. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prince in Tembisa. And I want to read a comment here that says from Musupa Tsela, who says, the thing is, there are no jobs for their parents in this current moment. So, Kifilwe, let's work backwards. This comment of there are no jobs for their parents, how do we navigate a space where, yes, that's the case, but that's not the child's job to do that? It is not the child's responsibility to take over where you are not doing what you're supposed to be doing.
Exactly. So why is there some role exchange there? Why is the child now put in a position to now provide for us? Because now we are appealing to the public who may have a softer spot for a child. We can't put children in those places. Unfortunately, those people are then guilty of not holding their parental roles and responsibilities. And moreover, hence I'm saying, I keep on going to say to the psyche of this child, what is this teaching this child who's begging on a street? Where do you see their future in the next years? Do you think they will let's think more on those to say, if we leave it, what are we actually living? And when will this come and bite us, either as a family system or as a country? Because the notion of it takes a village to raise a child is exactly that. And we live in an interconnected system. We live it today. Tomorrow, they are the same hijackers who are going to hijack your children in the future or me and kill, unfortunately.
Then the second last call, which was saying the parents actually are the ones that need to take responsibility.
That's true. And if you can't, and of course don't have employment, there are other ways that you can go to the department. I worked for a long time, 10 years. There are SRD, social relief programs to say, if you can't get food, let's go to the department, get food. And I know they can also, for empowerment purposes, they can give you for a longer time because now it's causing dependency. It's just an aid, as a short-term period to say, let's relieve you, but at the same time, let's empower you, or let's empower yourself as well. Look at alternative means to provide for yourself and your children.
And then the caller before that was touching on the fact that, be prepared for a negative response if you do something.
True, hence I'm saying I'm brave and I'm so young. If you can see me by body structure, but I stop. And moreover, you don't have to expose yourself. We can just call the police or the department to say, go and address this situation at corner number what, so that this gets addressed, so that you don't also expose yourself to harm or danger of any kind.
Yeah, it is so scary. We're talking about kids, and even in that, we need to think about harm and danger as well. 011 883 0702 and the WhatsApp line 072 702 and 702. I see you, Peter, and I see your voice notes and your messages. It's 1:30. Time for your latest Eyewitness News headlines. Good afternoon.
Thanks, Relebogile. A very good afternoon. Members of Parliament's Basic Education Portfolio Committee have questioned Minister Siviwe Gwachube over claims of cadre deployment and the filling of key positions within her department. Some committee members from the ANC say Gwachube intervened in the shortlisting of a candidate for the positions of Deputy Director General responsible for curriculum. A new study commissioned by the Electoral Commission shows the demand for democracy among South Africans is at an all-time low. The Human Sciences Research Council has made its findings of its latest voter participation survey public, which measures public confidence in democracy. And in China, nearly 180,000 BMW vehicles have been recalled due to a wiring fault in air conditioning units. This also includes 45,000 imported 5 Series, 7 Series and M5 vehicles produced between June of 2022 and April 2025. The country's market regulator says the wiring fault poses a fire risk. Those are your headlines this EWN, and more at 2 or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
Well, at this hour, free-flowing traffic across 702 land. No accidents have been reported on our highways. However, look out for those faulty traffic lights in the Rand Park Ridge area at Beyersnodie and the N1. Traffic lights still not working in Santon at Grayston and the M1, as well as in Edenville at Modderfontein Road and Lorry. If you come across any other traffic issues, kindly WhatsApp us on 072 702 1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Clement Maniatella.
Weekday mornings,
9 to 12.
9 to 12.
When you say that if they strike our power plants, there will be consequences, are we talking more about just the economic consequences, or are we now talking the Gulf countries neighboring you may also be targeted?
Clement, the consequences that I'm talking about is the principle of eye for eye. If our power plant has been under strike, so for sure, as our military commanders told, the assets of United States and the Zionist regime will be targeted. Also, the power plants in occupied lands will be targeted.
Dr. Hamidreza Orai, who speaks on behalf of the Iranian embassy.
Clements Maniatella.
9 to 12 on 702.
Congratulations to the lucky Powerball winner who bagged a mind-blowing jackpot of over 108 million rand on Friday after playing on a banking platform. Play Powerball Plus for an estimated 52 million rand jackpot this Tuesday, and you could make it rain lots of cash this March. Buy your tickets now in store on nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app, or cell phone banking. Panda Pusha Play. Players must be 18 years or older. Play responsibly. Ituba is the proud operator of the National Lottery.
The Audi Open House sales event is here. Get the Audi A1 from 6,699 per month, 0 deposit, rate below prime, and a guaranteed buyback. This offer ends 30 April. Plus, when you come in for a test drive, you can stand a chance to win an exclusive Audi Formula One experience. The Audi Open House sales event, now on at Audi dealerships nationwide. Terms and conditions apply. Visit audi.co.za for more.
This is what progress sounds like. At South African Airways, we've added more aircraft to the runway, increased our flights from just over 1,000 in 2021 to over 24,000 last year. And we continue to add more destinations and routes. It's steady progress over time. We know there's still work to do, but every day we're building something stronger. An airline that shares the resilience of the country it carries. South African Airways. Book your next flight at flysaa.com today.
Vodacom's Red Hot Deals presents 2 iPhone 15 128 gig smartphones for just 1,099 per month over 36 months on a 1 gig Red Core plan. Plus a Flexi 90 plan on the second device. You save 4,680. Now that's an extraordinary deal. Miss it, miss out. Available in-store and online. T's and C's apply. Further together. Vodacom.
The Money Show.
Weekday evenings at 6.
You have Trump suddenly, out of nowhere, saying, well, he's called off the attacks on Iran's energy infrastructure for 5 days. If there is an outbreak of peace, say before the end of the week, do markets go back to what they were before?
So there has been significant damage to oil infrastructure, especially gas infrastructure in the region. Countries like Kuwait have started shutting their wells because obviously they can't do anything with the oil they're producing, and that process apparently takes quite a while to restart.
Isaac Odendaal, investment strategist.
The Money Show
on 702. Let's walk the talk.
The Money Show with Stephen Curtis is brought to you by Absa Islamic Business Bank, celebrating 20 years of banking that honors your values. Your story matters. Absa is a registered FSP.
Your voice.
Your life.
Your afternoon radio.
On 702 Afternoons.
With Relebogile Mabotja.
24 minutes to 2 o'clock, and we continue with our conversation around what we do if we see kids not in school going age children. Who do we call? What is the solution, and what is actually the real challenge when it comes to kids that are roaming the streets or busy begging for money or dancing at the robots? After I had seen primary school aged looking children, unfortunately, I wasn't able to stop and decided to bring it here. The Department of Social Development was invited to the conversation. However, joining us is Kifilio Mujapelo, psychotherapist and social worker. 011-883-0702, the WhatsApp line 072-702-1702. Kifilio, before we went to the news, you were just commenting on what we were sharing. So before we go to pick up the conversation with Peter, can you just share with us what the normal protocol is to allay the fears that many will have around calling police? That if you drive past, you call the police, what usually happens? Because I know when it comes to children, they don't just come in without involving a social worker.
And that's, for me, then cushions a person who's reporting, because from there, then we take over, we do the investigation. There's no way where we can say it's not a criminal case. This is a child, and it's going to be handled in the children's court, particularly if it pertains to a child. So if it's in those terms, then what stops you? What are your fears? Or is it engaging with the broader community or the legal aspect in the court system now intimidating you? It's an internal thing that somebody needs to address internally by themselves. But one way or another, number one, we need each other. At some point, we have to report such things. And especially when it comes to children, because all the social worker is going to do is just to investigate. So the investigation, you provide information. You can never be at fault. What are you at fault at? What are you going to, you can never be at fault. So I'm investigating. After I have investigated, we finish the court with the recommendations to say this must happen in this circumstance. And moreover, just to sum that up, when it comes to a social worker, I know people are always saying we take people's children from their homes. That is an extreme case. And also, even in those worst circumstances, we are family preservation orientated. We must always preserve. So even if it can be bad and we involve the law, the main point is just we don't rule ourselves. We are guided by this act, but it must go through the court system to protect the main person. Even if it's the mother and then the child is exploited and now you are implicated because you are the one that reported. We leave you out. It's not about you. I take over and say, this is what happened. This child was found there and there, da. So reporting shouldn't be a problem, because anyway, even if I can find that the mother is at fault, I must still preserve and say, how do we help her? And how does the system help her? Because this child needs her. Because no child deserves to grow up with another family but theirs. Until bad things happen, then they are removed, of course.
Thank you so much for sharing that context, because it is an extreme case. Children just don't get removed easily for one incident. Let's bring on Peter from Midrand. Peter, hi.
How are you?
Good, thanks, and you?
All right. This is a touching topic. Every parent, every family, every individual, church, organization, we must get involved. We can reduce this thing. Let us not leave it to the government. Sometimes you can retreat and say, I've been shown a middle finger, but most of the time, I know 90% at least, I can share success stories of what happened when I intervene. I see a young person in the street, and you just ask questions. Can I take you home? You know, some may be willing, some not. What can I do for you? You know, and the other person said, no, I want to go to school. I've got matric. I said, no, bring me the results, you know. And I'm still waiting for the result. It's over a year. Sometimes others, they lie. But the truth is, let's not give in. Let's not give up. The reward of being involved is greater than going away and say, ay, minanya saba. We cannot fly with one wing, spiritual as a church. We must fly with another wing, which is social. Let us just get involved.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Peter, for sharing that about getting involved, because it touches on so many conversations we've been having over the past couple of weeks. The conversation around fatherlessness and men stepping up in communities as uncles to guide young people. It touches on many things. Kifilwe, how can we be involved, not abandon these children, and be helpful without overstepping our boundaries, without endangering a child? You know, sometimes it might seem like a great idea to offer a child a lift. But if God forbid something happens, like you're in a car crash or whatever, and now you're in a car with a child that you don't even know information about them.
Exactly. So as I'm saying, reporting, if you can do anything about it, call. And of course, some of the areas are covered by social development, some child welfare, some SAVF. So you can just call and just find out. Or even help that child on the street. You know that child that you pass every day. Just to say, like the Peter said, to say, how can I assist you? And then tomorrow you are planting a seed. Tomorrow you are saying, do you want to go to school? Can I help you? With their allowance, you can assist to say, let's meet parents. Or can I see your family? Give me your address. Can I call your mom? So those intentional efforts can go a long way.
We've got some messages coming through on the WhatsApp line 0727021702. But first, let's listen to the voice notes from all of you.
Look, Relebogile, afternoon. It is the principals who do these things. It is the principals. We don't promote that children should go and be unruly and that bullying should be at the center of everything else. However, the principals take a decision that for whatever reasons, they will take a decision to expel the children. Do you want to tell me all the children, they deserve to be expelled? All of them, so that they become nothing else but nyaupes, smoking nyaupe, just like what is happening here in KwaMhlanga. There is a place called KwaMhlanga, especially this principal called Makwileviti in KwaMhlanga Senior Secondary School. He's the number one person in this area who makes sure that children, they just become nyaupes. He chases them out of school. Cheers, Relebogile. Pule in Centurion.
Good afternoon, Relebogile. This is Selma from Roodepoort. I think a lot of the little children who are sitting next to the robots when the mother or the lady begs is not the child or the children of that lady. How do I know that? Because the lady will sit there with a hat on. The children will not have hats, or the one child or the baby. She expects them to sit there all day in the blazing sun without a hat on. They can get heat stroke, they will get skin cancers. Now, if it was their own child, I think that they would have put the hat on. So I think they're all rented children. But that's just my thought. Thanks for a lovely program. Bye.
Hi, Relebogile. Oli here. Yes, we see these children begging. My question is, who are these parents you're talking about? I mean, you go, let's say to the township where I observe it in my own area. Young girls that are there playing cards, they have these children. So this is the parent that we are talking about. There's no care in the world. Number one, after that 370 or 350, They are there playing cards to make money, to play dice. The problem is bigger than just a normal home that we are thinking of a parent that must look after a child. Teenage pregnancy is the high. The problem is bigger than this. And there are no services. You ask for social workers, intervention. It's too big. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much for those voice notes. Before we go to your comments, Kifilwe, more messages. I'm not surprised that social workers are not there now. They are a big problem. I'm a mother who dealt with the social development and they are incompetent, not child-centered, and a big problem. Another one says, Hi Relebogile, can your guest correct and reprimand those teachers who send out kids to beg on the street while their children are at private schools? That's from Yazonda in Soweto. Another one, afternoon label. Most of these children are foreign national kids being used because South Africa is a banana republic. Zimbabwe said so, that Zimbabwe is not a banana republic. This is from Dudu in Dobsonville, and your last voice notes.
Hi, Relebogile. Shumani. The sad part, these kids you're talking about, they are sitting under the tree as we speak. They are smoking cigarette. Those kids, I took a picture, but it was not that clear. But those kids are sitting under the tree as we speak. They're smoking cigarette. There's a guy who's selling some, I think it's these small chips and cigarettes. I think that guy is the one they're buying from. So yeah, this is what is happening. So it will get worse.
Hi, Relebogile. Chris Matebula here, pastor for Restoration Ministries. I totally want to agree with your last caller. We can't just leave this, to the government. I think we just have to get involved. Number one, it's totally wrong for a parent to stand on the road, Lengwana, who is 3 years old. It's so hot and the conditions are not good. But as I'm saying, let's play our part. As the church, we're getting involved. We tell our people, ask questions, help where you can, give a bursary, give a meal, put a budget as a church, where you can take care of the poor. We can't just consume everything. So yeah, a great show. I just thought I needed to add my weight on that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And the last one, Stacey in Midrand, go ahead.
Yeah, so about 16 years ago, I actually informally adopted a little street boy, but it is not without its emotional toll. It's an incredibly tough journey. I think it's the right thing. I think by my involvement in his life, he probably could have turned out to be a hijacker or something, but it is not without its challenges emotionally. But he did actually teach me what unconditional love is, because he disappointed me so many times. Every time he left school, every time he got into trouble, every time I had to go to the courthouse or he was in juvenile detention. So I got disappointed so many times, but actually you realize what unconditional love is, when it actually feels like for another human that you have no other motive other than just to be that person's light in life. So, but it does not come without its lots and lots of trials.
Well, good on you, Stacey, for taking that on, and also for being real about it, because whether you do formal adoption or informal adoption, which happens a lot in our communities, it is not without its many challenges. The child psychologically, and I'm sure Kifile will be able to explain much better than myself, whatever their conditions are, there is comfort in the dysfunction you have grown up with. So even if something looks like help, a child might not easily go to it. And that in itself is a whole different conversation. But good on you, Stacey. Kifilwe, as we wrap up, your comments and final thoughts on this topic and what so many people have been sharing. And there's so many messages continuing saying we have a massive problem. It's the poverty on the one side. It's the poorest borders on the other side. It's the part now where parents are either not doing enough or can't do more.
Indeed, Relebogile, and with this myriad of issues that are being presented here, we can accept that it doesn't exonerate me as an individual from doing nothing just because maybe I met a Kifilo in the department who's incompetent, for example. So there's all across all the levels and systems. The ecological systems being a micro level, me and myself and my family, and then the exosystem external to myself and the environment, and the macro one where we inform policies, and now as a public we have to comment and inform these things so that to say, can we make this illegal? Can we do we taking steps on the even influencing macro level issues, so we can make a difference starting from all those levels. However, going back to the person who said the borders example as an example. There's also international social services, which normally helps in deporting the children back to their original countries. That is after the investigation is done, and we can now see this child is not even legal in the country, and we check all this, and steps are also taken to deport the child back. And another lady said the problem is bigger, which is true. It is big, but it doesn't stop us from doing anything. And then another one scared me and say it's going to get worse. If we're not going to do anything, it may and it may not. And we can only do what we can, given the powers that we have. More than that, there's nothing we can do. But let's not also not do nothing and just stay and not do anything, rather. So
Yes, I was going to say completely agree with you. At the end of the day, even if it's systematic underlying issues that need to be resolved, it doesn't change what we need to do as a community. So follow those channels. And to anybody who says there are no social workers, I also know that there are challenges in the department itself. There are many social workers sitting without work. So that is a whole conversation on its own, but we're going to have to leave it there, Kifilwe. Thank you so much for your time. And we will see if there is a follow-up from the Department of Social Development.
Bongani Bingwa, 702 Breakfast.
Weekday mornings, 6 to 9.
The 35-year-old woman believed to be a lawyer was gunned point-blank range outside the CCMA at the corner of Fox and Joubert streets. The gunman, witnesses say, simply walked up to her as she stepped out of her vehicle and fired the shots, walked away and disappeared into the crowd. The killers, it would seem, are no longer hiding. What's behind this growing trend of business killings? Mike Bolhase, who's behind it, do you think?
This is a clear, typical hit. It's a consideration, contemplation, planned and executed scenario. This is a deduction case. It's actually an easy case. You will be able to find out who is the instruction giver here.
Bongani Bingwa, 6 to 9.
On 702.
Big thinkers need epic spaces to think. That's why TEDx Johannesburg has partnered with WeWork South Africa as its official workspace partner for 2026. WeWork members get TEDx bold conversations and sneak peeks behind South Africa's most influential TEDx events all year at WeWork Santon, Rosebank and Cape Town. Be part of an epic work evolution. Sign up as a WeWork All Access member. Visit wework.co.za today. Made for work, built for business.
Are your nails discolored, brittle, crumbly, or appear ragged? Are they thickened or starting to lift off the nail bed? You may have a fungal nail infection, which can lead to discomfort, limit your activities, and have a negative impact on your social life because of the embarrassment. New Turbay Nail treats fungal nail infections by directly killing the fungus. It requires no filing before application and dries in about 30 seconds once applied. Ask your pharmacist about New Turbay Nail and say goodbye to fungal nail infections.
Need a seat? Try 7 or 5. It's your call. Want a sunroof? Make it a panoramic.
Gotta have power? How does award-winning 138 kilowatts sound? The Changan CS75 Pro is big enough for the kids, smart enough for your playlist, and stylish enough for your Friday night too. Why settle when you can have it all without compromise? The Changan CS75 Pro. Drive tomorrow's SUV today. Visit changanmotors.co.za for more.
Changan, driven to evolve.
702
Tech Feature.
5 minutes to 2 o'clock. It is time for our tech features. We talk Edtech, the AI transforming classrooms. And I'm so glad we're having this conversation after Edtech was brought up in our mathematics special masterclass that we had last week. 011 883 0702 and the WhatsApp line 072 702 and 702. We're joined by Vula Philippides, Future Ready Lead at Extramark Education South Africa. Welcome to the show, Vula. Thank you for joining us.
Good day to you. Thank you very much for having me, and good day to all your listeners too.
What do we need to know, especially today, about EdTech and the AI that is transforming classrooms? Because when it does come to AI, sometimes we imagine it to be a lot further than what it is, and other times we imagine it to be a lot more outdated than what it is. But of course, this is a world you work in.
That's correct, yes. AI has been very exciting and very fast. AI is actually, the era has evolved, education, and it's involved classrooms in our arena in quite a big way. So basically, we've gone from traditional e-learning and digitizing textbooks and online lessons, which is static and one-size-fits-all type of a classroom environment in our educational space. We are now, because of AI and the way we've embedded AI into all of our workings in our ecosystems, with this AI-powered teaching, it is dynamic. It adapts to each learner, it predicts performance, and it empowers teachers with real-time dashboards. So that is the shift from content delivery to intelligent, personalized education. So basically, the AI is actually, made more intelligent every time a teacher and teaches the AI every time a teacher is actually working within this kind of AI enabled environment that we are offering to the school space and the teaching and the learning space. So that's where Extramark's plays, and we are a global EdTech leader with over a decade in transformative EdTech, and we are proud to be the first company to pioneer the power of AI for education-led teaching inside the school environment. So we are using AI to actually empower our teachers and to provide not just digitized content, but intelligent tech-merged content with 21st century pedagogy, which is adaptive and predictive and all-inclusive. So the AI doesn't replace teachers. It makes the teaching process smarter through data-driven types of solution. So every student has a profile, and the lessons are adaptive to their speeds and strengths, and fast learners are challenged while struggling learners are supported, so no child gets left behind. So that's where we are with the current AI at the moment that we have decided to embed into our smart learning classes and school.
What are some of the things you think parents can do to assist at home with preparing their children for that type of AI?
First of all, parents have to ensure that the schools where their students are attending of future-ready type of schools, because school has really changed, okay? It's gone and you know, there's been a transformation, not only in the tech, but also in the pedagogy as well, which is 21st century type of pedagogy. So a parent has to ensure that their students are in an environment where all of that has been embraced, and the school is actually teaching in a future-ready environment, meaning that EdTech is applied, AI is actually applied to the everyday teaching and learning of the student. And of course, something like our Extra Marks platform, we connect all the educational stakeholders, meaning the school, the teachers, the parents, the everybody involved in the student journey is actually connected. So everybody's got information about the student progress at all times. And the student is remediated through AI as well. So once, you know, a parent is actually choosing a school, that would be very, very important.
We're going to have to leave it there, Vula. Thank you so, so much. And for those of you that want to find out more about where Vula is at, Future Ready Lead at Extra Mark Education South Africa, the website is extramarks.co.za. It's just after 2 o'clock.
This is EWN.
A very good afternoon. I'm Mungi Zikoko. Former Higher Education Minister Nobuhle Nkabane has been found guilty of gross misconduct by Parliament's Ethics Committee after it determined she misled lawmakers and breached the Executive Code of Ethics. The findings follow a complaint launched by the Registrar of Members' Interest by Democratic Alliance MP Karabo Khachau, who serves on the Portfolio Committee on Higher Education and Training. The probe found that Nkabinde failed to exercise proper oversight in the appointment of the Sector Education and Training Authority board chairs and allowed her advisor to handle the recruitment and selection of panels. Now, Nkabinde has also appointed ANC-linked individuals as chairs of the CETA boards, including Gwede Mantashe's son. In July last year, President Cyril Ramaphosa fired her. Dimakatsolo Shoro has more.
The Joint Committee on Ethics and Members' Interest expanded the scope of its investigation beyond the initial allegations and has determined that Nobuhle Nkabane did not follow up on whether the panel had been properly appointed, resulting in irregularities that undermined governance processes. But over and above this, it found that she lied to Parliament about the role of an advisory structure she claimed was responsible for selecting candidates. After her appearance in Parliament, some of the members she claimed were on the advisory board, including Advocate Terry Mutau, distanced themselves from the process. Nkabane blamed her advisor, Asisipo Solane, for the failures. She was subsequently fired by President Cyril Ramaphosa. She has since been appointed as ANC's Deputy Chief Whip in Parliament. The committee concluded that her conduct fell short of the standards expected of members of the executive. Dimakato Leshoro, Eyewitness News.
Staying with Parliament, MPs of the Basic Education Portfolio Committee have questioned Minister Siphiwe Gwarube over claims of cadre deployment in the filling of key positions in her department. Some committee members from the ANC say Gwarube intervened in the shortlisting of a candidate for the positions of Deputy Director General responsible for curriculum. But Gwarube has dismissed the claim, saying no qualified candidate has been excluded from the process, which is still ongoing. Baba Londense has more.
Today's Portfolio Committee meeting was to discuss the shortlisting of people to fill key positions in the department. This follows reports that Gwarube intervened in the recruitment process and whether she had any links to the individual who was ultimately shortlisted for Deputy Director General for Curriculum. Committee Chairperson Joy Maimela.
And there was a clear instruction from the minister that the second person must actually be recommended. Although that second person, and we wanted to understand, because the allegation is that is cadre deployment.
But Gwarube says she did everything within the bounds of the law and has no knowledge of the person that was recommended.
I want to state on the record that, one, I have never met the individual that I have recommended. I have never heard of her before they applied. I don't know this individual.
Maimela says the committee will now get legal advice on the matter before formulating a position. Baba Londenza, Eyewitness News, Parliament.
The Madlanga Commission has heard how two different bid evaluation committees recommended that a tender awarded to a company linked to Tshwane's Deputy Mayor Eugene Modise be cancelled due to irregularities. The tender, which was to guard critical municipal infrastructure, was awarded to 22 companies, including Traumatic Protection Services owned by Modise. Tshwane's Deputy Chief of Police deployed under asset protection, Revo Spies, has been testifying about the tender before the Commission today. Tabiso Goba reports.
Tshwane's Metro Police Deputy Chief Revo Spies says the tender was advertised in September 2016. He says the first bid evaluation committee found there was irregularities in the process. Specifically, the documents were removed from the supply chain management offices, taken to another location, and when they were returned, there were some pages missing. The first BEC recommended that the tender be cancelled. However, one of the bidders took the municipality to court and won a ruling which stated the Metro cannot cancel the tender, but it must be re-evaluated afresh. Spies says a second BEC was formed.
This committee, after evaluation, it appears that they again resolved that the tender be cancelled due to irregularities during the bid evaluation process, still linked to the original missing tender documents, which were deemed to be highly irregular.
Spies says the municipality was again taken to court and this time ordered to award the tender to the 22 qualifying companies. The tender commenced in March 2022 and is currently still in place. Tabiso Koba, Eyewitness News.
And in China, nearly 180,000 BMW vehicles have been recalled due to a wiring fault in air conditioning units. This also includes 45,000 imported 5 Series, 7 Series, M5 vehicles produced between June 2022 and April of 2025. The country's market regulator says the wiring fault poses a fire risk. According to reports, BMW will inspect and reassure the air conditioning wiring harness for the recalled vehicles free of charge. Gold is trading at $4,425.68 an ounce. The rand is at 16.99 to the dollar, 22.79 to the pound, 19.70 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $101.45 a barrel.
There's faulty traffic lights in North Riding at Belez and Malibongwe. There's also traffic lights out of order in Kyalami at Kenilworth and Kyalami Boulevard, as well as in Santon at Grayston and the M1.
A cloudy Tuesday in store for Gauteng with scattered afternoon showers and thundershowers still expected. Temperatures will peak at highs of between 22 and 24 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour, former Higher Education Minister Nobuhle Nkabane has been found guilty of gross misconduct by Parliament's Ethics Committee after it determined she misled lawmakers and breached the Executive Code of Ethics.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
You're with Relebogile Mabotja
Live, streaming countrywide
on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM.
Minutes after 2 o'clock, the second and final hour of 7:02 afternoons with me, Relebogile Mabotja, and we are jumping into our series edition in this hour. We have in our series been discussing the different types of retirement. Episode 1, we spoke about disability retirement. Episode 2, early retirement. Today, we're talking about deferred retirement. Don't worry if you've missed any of the episodes. You will be able to catch up on them on primemediaplus.com or even download the app. It's not just the place you can find interesting conversations on this show. You can also find interesting conversations on all the other shows and other content as well. And then we wrap it up with the car feature, and we're going to be unpacking what makes Stellantis Leap Motor EV brand stand out with Janus Jansa van Rensburg, Head of Marketing and Sales for Leap Motor at Stellantis. So get in touch with us. Give us a call. 011 883 0702. SMS us 31702. Tweet at Relebogile M at Radio 702 using the hashtag 702 afternoons, and the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702.
702.
Series edition.
Series edition time on a 702 afternoons. We are in a series this month on the different types of retirement. And today in episode 3, we're talking about deferred retirement. And get in touch with us, 011 883 0702 in the WhatsApp line, 072 702 1702. We're joined by our guest, Wayne Heller van Rensburg, Executive Director at the Institute of Retirement Funds Africa. Wayne, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for allowing me to share some thoughts.
Before we talk about deferred retirement, can you chat to us about what the Institute of Retirement Funds Africa does?
We are primarily an advocacy and information sharing organization that focuses on the retirement sector in South Africa, and we are expanding Pan-Africa and reaching out to our fellow Africans to see how we can work together to work for better retirement outcomes for as many people as we can get there.
So can I ask, are you the ones keeping our politicians out of retirement? You're the ones keeping you're keeping them working longer than they should be going on retirement. Okay, so let's then talk about deferred retirement. What does that mean? And I like to ask the question each time we discuss retirement is, we know there's a state-specific retirement, but in your world, what is the age or the sort of age gap that you look at when you have conversations around retirement? Is it 60 up? Is it 55 and up?
So, it's a good question, because South African law in particular doesn't have a retirement age. So when we look around what the normal retirement ages are, it really is a question of how you've negotiated this with your employer or what their practices are. And for most of us, it's somewhere probably between 60 and 65. When you look at the employment contract out there for the majority of people.
Okay, and the kind of advocacy work that you do, because obviously there's the part of retirement in the context of I'm just stopping getting up and going to the office every day, but you could just be a chairperson or like a Warren Buffett, right? And then there's the one, like, as you say, you're working for someone and every month something is getting deducted.
So, and I think a lot of my world is focused around those people who are fortunate enough, let's be honest, to have some employment and belong to an employed-sponsored arrangement. But retirement is obviously an individual journey, and really depends on what it is and when it is that you want to stop working. And I'm going to blab a bit, and you're going to jump in when I'm saying too much. I think for most of us, unless you're in a very sort of hard labor environment, if you're a miner or maybe someone who helps with, pick it up, do refuge removal, stuff like that, you're probably able to work well past the normal ages that we see, the 60 to 65. But for those people, I think it really becomes a journey. And I do really want to qualify, because I don't think this applies to everybody equally. But for those of us who don't necessarily do hard labor, we could probably keep on contributing well into old age.
And do you have any thoughts around what the laws around retirement are in terms of what you're advocating for or against? Is there anything in your view that your organization is currently putting forward for consideration at policy level?
So, so I think one of the, when it comes to retirement and policy level from our side, is really about saying, can we look at some of the tax issues? But that again is for people who are in the fortunate position to be in higher tax brackets. There are some caps on the tax benefits you can get. So there's been a push to see how we can increase those tax allowances. There's been a small shift, but that's still pretty much fixed, and then the amount of money you can get tax free. Because I mean, we all think we're saving up, and then when we get to retirement, all of a sudden we get another tax bill. That we,
and it doesn't make it's so
increasing
confusing
those,
and so unfair, because it's like, didn't you already tax the money that was put in a pot?
Exactly.
Now you're taxing it again.
So I mean, part of it would really be, how can we increase those numbers in a way that obviously sustainable for the country, and all those good things. But that tax impact can have a big impact on your decision. If we get serious about the rands and cents of the question, when does it make sense to stop contributing? Maybe just keep your money saved away somewhere, and then decide when the right tax moment is. Because I think for a lot of people, when it comes to that question, you really start looking at around the tax issues for your retirement, and obviously something you'd need to consider. And earlier on, I mentioned that sort of phased approach, and maybe the phased approach is something that talks to this as well.
So let's not talk about a deferred retirement. Let's say you and your employer have agreed to 60 being sort of the agreement and the policy. What would a scenario be of deferring that retirement?
Yeah, so that's a very sort of technical legal thing. It's called deferred retirement. It's named that in the law.
Yes.
And it essentially means that you're allowed to leave your money in your retirement fund that you were a member of, not make any additional contributions, and then maybe choose at a later date to draw that money, to start using that money. So maybe you've got a part-time job, or you've got some other income, and I think we all know the longer you leave your money to earn investment returns, the better hopefully depending on the world and decisions our leaders make, the money's going to grow.
Yes. Okay, so the whole principle is, for whatever reason, your retirement was going to come to you, your pot was going to come to you on X date at 60, but then you no longer need it at that time. So are you the person who is saying, hey, please hold on to that retirement pot? I actually, now my side business is doing well. I want to leave it there to keep growing. And I see you nodding your head. So then what automatically happens if you're not telling the government, please leave my money there? Or if you're not telling whoever the supplier is, maybe share with us what usually happens. Because there are probably many people listening who've never actually gone through the process of, okay, now you stopped working. Is it suddenly you get 3 million in your account? Or like, how does it work that deferring it is the one you have to communicate?
So you'd have to make some, by the time you reach that point, if you're an employed person, you probably have some exit process that you'd follow, and there'd be some form of counseling that you'd have to receive to explain the various options to you. And at that point, you'd have to say, I choose not to take my money now. I'd like to keep it in the fund until further notice. And that would really be the trigger for you. So, I mean, obviously for a state pension, that doesn't apply, because you need to apply for it. But if you are employed, or if you have like a retirement annuity or some other form of retirement investment, you would be able to tell them, I'm leaving that money there and I'll let you know when I want it. But it would have to be a form. If you do nothing, I'm probably also just going to hang around there. But I can't imagine too many people reaching 60 or 65 or 63 or whatever the age is, and not being aware of hopefully they're aware of the money that they have, especially seeing that we now have two-pot, which I think, I just want to throw in there, has made us all more aware of our retirement benefits that we have.
There's something you mentioned that I'd love you to just expand on, which is the part of the counseling. So is that counseling around the idea of where you are psychologically and you mentally preparing for this next chapter of your life for you to decide, or it is counseling specifically around the fact that you are going to get X amount of money and this is what the process is going to look like. What would you like to do before we pull the trigger?
So the law obliges your whoever it is that you've got your money with to do exactly the rands and cents stuff. It doesn't deal with the emotional process, which I think is a really important one as well. You know, our sense of who we are and all those things are often linked to the job we have or the thing we do. So that's probably a responsibility you need to take on yourself if your support network isn't giving you that kind of counseling as well.
Okay, and I'm glad that you touched on that, because I think maybe you see it a little bit in your world, the toll that it might take on a person not having mentally prepared for what that next chapter looks like, because the rands and cents are but a small part of the conversation. The other parts are, you know, what is your day-to-day life going to look like and your purpose and all of those things. Is there anything you can share just from your observations in the kind of space you do that people don't think about in their next chapter outside of the money they need to live off in those calculations?
You know, and you're talking about, was it a side business or a side hustle
Yes.
or something like that? You know, I don't think many people prepare themselves for that. And those of us who are fortunate enough to be very involved in our communities probably already have purpose through a religious organization or maybe some other type of activity that we participate in. But, you know, the reality is that part of the rands and cents, we obviously all need enough to survive, but then day one of my new life, if I'm retiring at 60 and I've made it to 60,
yes,
the stats tell us if I'm a man, I'm going to live till I'm about 80. If I'm a woman, I'm going to live till about 85. That's 20 or 25 years that you've got to look forward to for life, and you need to build some purpose there. And hopefully people are mature enough at that point. We've lived long enough to know that now I need to do something that gives me purpose over and above the rands and cents that I need.
Okay, now let's go back to the counseling part. Do most of the people you find want to get all their money immediately? And the portion, and I know that I'm not going to hold you to the percentages, it's just your own view and not what the official stats say. Those that maybe opt for structuring it in a salary form, what are you seeing? Because I would imagine that most people want all their money at one time to maybe purchase their house or to do something they've been waiting to do, versus the ones who are like, I want this in 10,000 Rand a month increments, and that's going to carry me until X age.
So the answer is complex and very specific, and I'm not dodging it, but you know, I think most people believe that they have the capacity to use that money wisely as a lump sum and want it as a lump sum.
Yeah.
So that would be the request that most people have. The law, however, prohibits that. And, you know, a lot of the behavior we've seen from people, not because they're bad at anything, just we're just generally not that good at having large lump sums of money and keeping it for the next 20 or 25 years. So it's probably better if you can manage it differently. But I mean, again, people's situations are unique, and the law also has some constraints in how much you can take.
And I mean, also, if you think about it, and I understand the state is trying to protect its purses by making you take care of yourself and not burden the state. But at the same time, if somebody's been working for over 40 years, let's call it over 40 years, and now the state is like, yeah, we're going to give you just piece by piece. I'll just be like, give me my money. I've been waiting for, you know, slaving away 9 to 5 every day.
So, you know, like I was talking about tax and stuff earlier on, and the reality is that you could access parts of your money, you know, as a rule. And I mean, it's a very general rule. you'd probably be allowed to access at least 1/3 of your money more, maybe for historical reasons. But say you're fortunate enough to save up 6 million rand, and you want to take 2 million of that 6 million as a which you can, as a lump sum. You're going to be hit with tax there. So your 2 million is not going to be 2 million, it's going to be 1.4 million, for example. So that's another thing to consider around that. And that's probably why it's so important to get not just the counseling, but if you've got larger sums of money, get proper advice around how to structure this thing. There are probably other ways of accessing lump sums rather than paying away like a big chunk of that money immediately.
There's some questions that are coming through in the WhatsApp line 072 702 and 7021 says, was the two-pot system for government employees only? Look, as far as we know, everybody has had access to it. It's been communicated to the public. Can you share with us to refresh all of our memories, Wayne?
So I will. So there's a bit of a journey. So we used to have things called provident funds where you could take everything at the end of it. When you got to retirement, you got to 6 million. You could take 6 million, pay the tax, and do whatever you want to with it. So we've phased that out. So that some of that's like not there anymore. And then in September 2024, we got the two-pot system, which essentially breaks our contributions or money we're putting into a retirement fund at the moment into two pots in a broad way. One pot that we can access, that access pot, and then the other pot that you have to keep till you get to retirement. So the contributions are split 1/3 going into that savings access pot and 2/3 into your retirement pot. So that applies to everybody, whether you're a government employee, as long as if you belong to a retirement fund, and you're making contributions, you now have these two pots.
Okay, so that is that question answered. So now with the deferred retirement, when you go and you say, guys, I don't need it now, please hold on to it. What are the implications on the person asking to defer that withdrawal?
So there it would really be, how much is it going to cost me to leave my money with you? So those would be some of the questions I would think would be necessary. You'd ask with your advisor, because no one's going to keep your money for free. If you're keeping something safe, that's the one thing. So that's more on the sort of negative. I wouldn't say negative, but some of the considerations you need to have. And then the other thing is that the opportunity, if you leave your money and if you listen to the investment experts and stuff, they say if you leave your money long enough, once every 7 years, and you earn the right kind of returns, you can double your money. So if I'm starting with 3 and I'm the ability to leave it for a while and I choose the right investment, I could have 12 in 7 years' time. Or, whatever. I'm just using that as an example, which could be a significant benefit to me.
Okay, and those are definitely considerations that a person should have. So once now they've said, these are the options, when the person says, please defer my retirement, do they need to commit to a new date that it now comes out? Do they have to agree, or is it, I'll call you guys when I'm ready to take it?
So again, it kind of depends from situation to situation, but for the vast majority of people who are retiring from an employer, the question is just, I'm now not going to take it now. I'll let you know when I'm going to take it. So the deferring option gives you that thing. I'm going to do it somewhere in the future. Maybe if you've got a retirement annuity or something, there's there'll be an end date. So say I'm going to save in my retirement annuity till I'm 65, but I realize I don't need it at 65. I then have to go back to my provider and say, I'm not taking it now. I want to leave it for longer and I want to invest more for a longer period. So it does depend on where you're sitting, that question.
And are you finding that there are some people who are working hand in hand with the employers, for example, where the employers are like, actually, can you stay with us 2 years longer? And they are part of that deferring process.
So there could be that where you say, I don't want to make any further contributions. I just want to defer it and just take a salary. Or you could just say, I'm deferring it, not in this legal sense of deferring it, I'm just like not retiring at the moment, and your employer agrees, and you can continue making your contributions and hopefully keep some of those other benefits linked to that as well.
Your final thoughts, Wayne?
If you can, and I know I have to, I was hoping I could retire sometime in the future, but I know I'm going to have to work as long as I can for both the money reasons and also for making contribution to my society and having some meaning in my life. So, I mean, that's a personal view, but I think it's something that's shared with many people who are healthy and capable of doing that. I can think of nothing worse. It's not quite there yet, but having to sit at home and, I don't know, garden, maybe that's a good thing, but maybe other things we can do with our lives.
There you go. There are other things we can do with our lives. Wayne, thank you so much for your time. What is the website that people go to for the Institute of Retirement Funds Africa?
It's obviously www.irfa.org.za.
So IRF for funds, fa.org.za. IRFA.org.za. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, man.
Thank you.
Thank
It's
you.
2:30. Time for your latest Eyewitness News headlines. Good afternoon.
Thanks, Relebogile. Very good afternoon. Former Higher Education Minister Nobuhle Nkabane has been found guilty of gross misconduct by Parliament's Ethics Committee after it determined she misled lawmakers and breached the Executive Code of Ethics. The findings follow a complaint lodged by the Registrar of Members' Interest by Democratic Alliance MP Karabo Khachau, who serves on the portfolio on higher education and training. Residents of the Tladi informal settlement say they're looking forward to having electricity supply. This follows the demolition of a house in the area, which was delaying the installation of a transformer in the area. Today, the City of Johannesburg's Human Settlements Department confirmed it can finally start that process. And with the local government elections fast approaching, a new study reveals that the majority of voters are dissatisfied with the impact of democracy on their lives. This is contained in a new voter participation survey commissioned by the IEC, which measures South Africa's confidence in democracy. In its study, the Human Science Research Council has found that the demand for democracy is at a historic low. Now, those are your headlines. More EWN at 3, or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
Sharon Lee, slow-moving traffic on Malibongo Drive between Belez and the N1 due to faulty traffic lights. There's also traffic lights not working in Kyalami at Kenilworth and Kyalami Boulevard. Faulty traffic lights as well in Santon at Grayston and the M1. If you come across any other traffic issues, kindly WhatsApp us on 072-702-1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Aubrey Masango.
Weekday evenings,
8 to midnight.
You remember that just a few weeks ago with the Eddington primary school situation, there were people that were being provocative, sending and making videos suggesting that South Africa should live under a Nigerian president. And to the credit of some Nigerians living in South Africa who said, but this is wrong. Can't have a situation where you keep provoking South Africans in this way. Because at some level, we do need to think about the fact that there are people who just like to see
Aubrey Masango.
8 to midnight on 702.
702.
Congratulations to the Lucky Powerball winner who bagged a mind-blowing jackpot of over 108 million rand on Friday after playing on a banking platform. Play Powerball Plus for an estimated 52 million rand jackpot this Tuesday, and you could make it rain lots of cash this March. Buy your tickets now in store on nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app, or cell phone banking. Panda Pusha Play. Players must be 18 years or older. Play responsibly. Ituba is the proud operator of the National Lottery.
Reliable water services depend on a sustainable system. When residents pay for municipal services, it enables Johannesburg Water to maintain infrastructure, repair leaks, upgrade networks, and continue delivering essential water and sanitation services to the city. Revenue collected from services is reinvested into operating and strengthening the water system for everyone. By paying for services, residents play an important role in supporting the sustainability of Johannesburg's water supply. Brought to you by Johannesburg Water, a water and sanitation utility that cares.
Year in, year out, we're fixing tires faster than a Formula One pit crew. My team is on top of things like tire whisperers. If an unforeseen accident were to happen in my workshop, At least I've got My Way business insurance to keep the wheels turning.
Visit myway.co.za or dial 0860 64 64 64 and get a quote today. My Way is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. T's, C's and standard rates apply. My Way. Live your way.
Gauteng is currently experiencing high water consumption. To avoid water interruptions, residents are urged to use water sparingly to allow equitable supply. Act now, save water. Every drop counts. This message is brought to you by the Department of Water and Sanitation, Rand Water, Gauteng Provincial Government, City of Johannesburg, City of Tshwane, and City of Ekurhuleni.
When was the last time you felt something? Something that ignites your passion, gets your adrenaline pumping, and makes your heartbeat skip? When was the last time you fell in love? Introducing the new Alfa Romeo Junior with 280 horsepower and standard park assist. Learn to love again. Visit alfaromeo.co.za to book a test drive.
John Perlman. Weekday afternoons.
3 to 6.
Mashal in for John Perlman. To what extent would you say that this plays in the hands of an upcoming local government election and you'd be accused of electioneering conveniently, and Madlanga Commission is a convenient tool for you to advance those objectives?
Well, if a political party is not saying something about corruption, about what its response to corruption would be and what the standards of conduct are before a local government election, they shouldn't be a trusted leading government.
John Perlman.
3 to 6 on 702.
702 Afternoon Drive with John Perlman is proudly brought to you by Telkom Business. Possible begins here.
Coming up
on 702 Drive.
702 Drive is coming up from 3 to 6 p.m. Thabo Shole Mashao is standing in for John Perlman. How are you?
I'm free. How are you, Relebogile? So lovely to see you.
I'm shackled.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
Just because you said I'm free.
The contradiction
I'm imprisoned.
Is yeah. How are you doing?
Oh, suffering and exhaustion. I'm good.
Yeah. So lovely to see you after a little while. I don't want to take too much of your time.
Yeah,
so I'll jump straight to it.
Wait, but I had to just ask quickly.
Yeah.
We were chatting earlier.
Yeah.
Around school-going children.
Yes.
That are just not in school. They're on the streets. I saw some dancing on Santon Drive, and they look like they should be in primary school. Now, some people are like, call the police. Others are like, find the parents. Others are like, ask that child what they're doing. They take them where they need to go. What are your thoughts? Because times have changed. I wouldn't want somebody necessarily going to my child and disciplining them if they're bunking, because your idea of discipline and mine are not the same.
Right.
At the same time, there's the part of like, where the parents, are you failing? But some of these kids just leave school. The parent knows the child to be at school.
Yeah.
What would you do, or what do you advise people do? Because the social worker said, well, call the popo. But in real life,
it's not a criminal issue to start off with. I think it's clear. But I think it's a societal matter where schools, parents, and generally society need to work together. It must just be unpopular or unfashionable for kids to be seen at school to be seen outside in the streets during school hours. We were afraid when I was in school, I wouldn't walk around in a blazer at about 11 o'clock because I thought it's taboo. Someone is going to rat me out and someone is going to call the school and saying we are seeing this guy. But I think, lastly, Relebogile, I think it's our responsibilities as parents. Honestly, it boils down to that. We can blame the government. We can blame the teachers. My child must know that they must be in school. That's it. Or else there'll be consequences.
You know, back in the day, when parents would say, I brought you into this world, I'll take you out now. Listen,
You're
I
not
used to be like,
advocating
how
for
could you
that.
say that to your child? And then I'm like, I've started having those moments of like, does this child know I brought them here? I will be the first to take them out.
No way. No, not that harshly, please. And, and speaking of schools, 34 schools in Gauteng failed their safety assessment. Meaning that those schools, including Santon View High and many other schools, Eden Park High, they are not as safe as they ought to be. Perhaps, and the safety issue relevant to what you are saying includes safe fences and protection around school boundaries. So that's related to exactly what you're saying. So 34 schools in Gauteng feel that. So we'll be chatting to someone about that just to try to understand what can be done. The Gauteng Department of Education says they're working very hard to make sure that the number of schools that are unsafe, so to speak, will be reduced. Relebogile, you would love this one as well. Podcasts.
Yes.
They are not regulated currently as far as our laws are concerned, but the Communications Portfolio Committee says we need to tighten the screws because Relebogile can just decide that I don't like Thabo and on her podcast say nasty stuff about me, or you get 4 people to say bad things about me, and there'll be little or there'll be nothing to do except for taking a very costly legal exercise against you. So we want to understand a little bit about podcasts as well. And the lawyer who was shot down yesterday in the CBD, terrible stuff. We will be talking about that matter. And lastly, we are also concerned about people buying expensive stuff. So we are asking.
Before you get to the expensive stuff, the podcast one, obviously, I'll have a view on it being a podcaster myself.
For obvious reasons.
And this is my fear with this conversation.
Yeah.
You are choosing one example to have a blanket approach on an industry that has so many players in it. I personally have not been engaged, and I know there are many other podcasters who have not been engaged. I would imagine if it is already going to Parliament, there should have been some form of engagement. Now, I do think that there are podcasts that have been harmful, but I don't necessarily believe regulation is the answer.
What is the answer?
I think start with the engagement and take it from there, because there's so many elements where already as government, get your basics right when it comes to certain things. But I think you're just putting a bandage and not going to the part of, okay, what is the space we are navigating, this new space?
Before we get regulations, there are
but
there are various stages that we go through. Remember, before regulations, there would be a white paper, there's a green paper, white paper. So we are not even there yet. There will be a space for consultation where people are asked to submit orally or in written form their views. Podcasters like you will be asked, what do you think of this? And then you'll have an opportunity to submit.
Maybe help me then.
Yeah.
When they go to Parliament now, as a group of, in my mind, grown-ups that aren't even in this world, what are they going with? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What are they going with? So I understand the parts of the process, but are we just taking one headline and saying now we need 2? And maybe that's my naivety in understanding. But to me, it almost felt like it's only 1 or 2 podcasts that you're not happy about out of a landscape of so many.
Yeah. But you could also say racism is not such a big problem. There's one. No. You could say. When last did was someone racist to me? I don't remember. And
it's because you haven't been to Cape Town in a while.
I was there.
I was in Cape Town
for the
just
Sigma,
the past
I was there for the
few
mining
days.
job. I was.
Listen, some of the Cape Town racism has its own specific flavor, ne? And you know what the flavor is?
Yeah.
The flavor is not them being directly racist to you. Yeah. But it is the flavor of you are the nice one because you work in Santon at 702, which is it's a US. You know that flavor. So Shem,
you must call in the show. let's take this conversation
and just
between 3 and 6.
Clothes.
Yeah. On expensive clothes, we're asking why are people so obsessed with expensive clothes? Thabo Bester was there right now wearing a Louis Vuitton shirt in cotton, whatever.
How else are they going to show you? Number one, that they made the money. Because that's, in my view, what part of the reason is. In the view of Thabo Bester, he is playing the politics of what people are going to talk about.
You can show me by going on holiday 6 times a year.
He literally could have chosen to wear a black T-shirt and jeans. But he is that's what manipulative people do.
Yeah.
They say, let me wear LV and then stand there and say, even Robert Sobukwe was not in solitary confinement. As long as me. It's a game. He is playing a game.
Is that why people prefer expensive clothes?
No, in the case of Thabo Bester, but I just think often it's people showing,
Yeah.
but there's a thing called quiet luxury where you can't
Yes,
tell.
yes,
Now that
yes.
for me is for elite wealthy
Yeah.
people to say,
Mark Zuckerberg.
I see you.
Yes.
You're one of the rich. You're not a
Yes,
millionaire.
yes.
You're in the billionaires
Yes.
club. So it's a communication tool in my view. But I know
Or
nothing.
low self-esteem.
Yeah, like 702 Drive. Yo, Tabo Shalema Shao standing in for John Pillman.
702.
The car feature.
Car feature time on 702 Afternoons with me, Relebogile Mabotja, brought to you by Stellantis South Africa. And if you're like, what is this Stellantis? Do not worry. Every single week on our car feature, we're going to be breaking down, talking different car topics, but also some of the brands within the group. And one of the group members that is joining us is Head of Marketing and Sales for Leap Motor at Stellantis, Janse van Rensburg. You know, I had to practice because the Jansa is the tongue tripper. Janse van Rensburg. Welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Thank you so much. Yeah, doing great. Thank you. It's a privilege to be here. Thanks for having me.
So maybe you can help us recap about all the other brands in Stellantis, because these are your sister and brother companies, similar to 947 is just across the passage from us, and you fly to Cape Town, there's KFM and Cape Talk. Who else is in the Stellantis brand?
So within our brand house, we have Citroen, which is our main volume brand. And then we have Peugeot, Opel, a German brand. And then we would have this Leap Motor brand, Jeep, Alfa Romeo, and Fiat. That's our brands within the brand house.
You said something about Citroen. You said something, and I'm trying to understand the lingo. You said it's your major?
So it's our main volume brand.
Oh,
so,
main volume, as
yeah.
in that's the one that gets the most orders?
Yes.
Oh.
That's our main focus, and that's where we see also in South Africa the biggest opportunity from a pricing and positioning perspective.
I got you. Okay, so Leap Motor, not many people know the brand. I've had an opportunity to already test drive it. I think I'm getting it again soon. What would you share about this brand? Because there are so many new brands on the market that you go around and you're like, huh? What is that? Where does it, like, where half the time you don't know the brand. And I think Leap Motor is slowly coming into people knowing it.
Yeah, so the Leap Motor brand only introduced into South Africa last year around October when we launched it locally with the C10 Reef, which is a range extender electric vehicle. But the brand has been around since 2015 in China.
Yes.
And it is today the third biggest startup brand on electric vehicles or new technology vehicles in China, producing over 1 million cars.
Oh, wow.
So it's a massive brand. We've got amazing technologies that we're introducing globally. And for South African market, you know, we focus on the technology that makes sense specific to our market needs and our environment.
What I absolutely love is how the Stellantis group really has a bit of everything. You can go to Germany, you can go to China, or you can keep it French with the other brands because they have, and Italian as well, because there's so much to offer. In terms of Leap Motor, I mean, what would you say is one of the key reasons that Stellantis felt that this brand would work for the South African market?
Look, we want to introduce new technologies to the mainstream global users or audience, a new technology to a new audience where it's accessible. So we're looking at positioning these cars affordably so, keeping in mind that we're looking at electric vehicles, range extended electric vehicles, plug-in hybrids. So that's where our focus lies, and we want to also be part of the Chinese revolution at the moment in terms of the automotive industry. So that's where we want to position ourselves.
What's the difference between range extended electric vehicles and hybrid?
So, for instance, you get mild hybrid, which is a car that just by itself changes between a petrol engine and an electric motor. But you can't dictate whether it runs on one or the other. It decides by itself.
Oh, as in, so you if you're traveling and it's charged and it's you've got some gas in it, it will just decide what it needs when.
Yeah, look, it uses a lot of inputs. So basically your throttle position, so how much of the acceleration you're using. If it goes on a full throttle, for instance, it will start up the petrol engine and also use electric motor to give you the most power out of the combination of the two. And then when you're coasting, for instance, when you're going downhill and not really so much on the throttle, it will also then switch over to electric, where it wants to save. So a plug-in hybrid is different. So you need to physically stop, plug in the car to charge the battery to a capacity. But normally those batteries are quite small. So you have a very limited range, 40 to 60 to 80 kilometers, depending on the car.
So that's sort of like just running around in your neighborhood. You're not trying to drive to
exactly, yeah.
KZN.
It can be quite fuel efficient. Where ours are different, our base propulsion is electric compared to where a hybrid, your base propulsion is a internal combustion engine. Our drive is always electric. Then we have an onboard generator that just feeds the battery. So
I got you.
Generator is not used for moving; it's just used for charging.
So in the event that you don't have power, I just discovered I don't have power at home. You don't have power at home and you need to move. Does that mean the petrol in the vehicle will not get you to move because its role is charging, or it will charge and move?
It will. So the generator can run at any time based also on certain inputs from you as the driver, but you're not dependent on electric only.
I got you.
The base cars run with electric, but the battery will always keep a certain state of charge in the car so that you can move. So the generator, you just need to then supplement the fuel tank.
I got you.
That's all
I
it is.
got you.
The benefit
Yes.
of having no power is these cars have vehicle to load. So you can actually run some accessories from home or appliances from the car.
Oh.
Yes.
So give an example of what you could do beyond like charging your phone. I don't know if you had the same experience, but there was a period of load shedding where I spoke to a lot of people in cars. They were in their cars because we all needed to just charge devices.
Yeah, you can run just a phone or plug connector, and you can charge phones. You can run certain small appliances from home, like lights and stuff, from the car itself.
Not a kettle.
Not advisable.
Okay, we're not going to test the car that far. You've spoken about the C10. Please tell us a little bit more about that one, because that's the one that is currently here, and then we can chat about the ones that you are looking to introduce to the South African market.
Sure. The C10 is a like large size SUV, not your size of the big. Maybe more premium brands, but it's a D segment SUV. So you've got a massive.
Sorry, repeat that. A D
segment SUV. So
what is D segment?
So that's a car that's just let's call it 4.7 meters long.
Okay, I got you.
So it's quite a sizable vehicle.
Yes.
A lot of leg room, a lot of headspace, a lot of loading capacity in the boot. It comes with all the bells and whistles. It's got a fully integrated system that you can actually also access with your phone, and it's really like a sort of a tablet on wheels, if I can call it that.
It really is. The screen is huge.
Yeah.
You get it. I actually think it is like a 13-inch laptop screen.
It's actually a 14-inch.
Oh my gosh, that's exactly what I was like. The screen is so big.
Yeah. So this is a family vehicle, and where the range extended electric vehicle comes into a benefit for the South African market is you can travel up to 970 kilometers on a full charge and a full tank.
Yes.
Which is amazing. So you can have all the benefits of electric vehicle without the range anxiety, without worrying to charge. You don't have to charge. You can plug in if you want, but there's an onboard generator. So there's really a lot of benefits in this car for our local market environment.
And I think that is such a positive. And then you've spoken a lot about the tech and the digital aspects. What are some of the things that this vehicle has that maybe are not so known on the market? I do know the Leap Motor in particular is a car where it wasn't so easy to just jump in and move like other cars. And you can imagine I test drive a lot of cars. It did need me to learn it. And once I was like, oh, okay, this is actually really cool.
Yeah, so, us as South Africans are sort of hesitant to change, So this is your first perhaps interaction with the car might be a little bit overwhelming because it's very simplistic, which creates a little bit of complexity because you want certain buttons as, for instance, just volume or fan control and the fan speed for the blower unit to be there, but you need to access this via the screen. Once you get used to it, which actually happens not too long after you've onboarded the car, it actually makes sense and it starts getting easier to live. Recently, we launched a Leapmotor app from your smartphone, which now you can integrate with the car. You can see what your state of charge is. You can actually plan your charging if it's plugged in at home from your lounge area. You can pre-cool, preheat the car. You can even, if you don't know where you parked, you can get it to beep or hoot, so that you can actually find your car. So
this is so smart. It's like Find My iPhone, but for your car.
Exactly, yes. So we're trying to elevate that whole experience to the end consumer. And the more time you spend with it, the more you love this car.
Okay, and can this be something that's intimidating? I'm thinking about the listeners who are like, I'm a little bit not so tech savvy, and this sounds very intimidating. Let me just stick to analog, the analog world. Chat to us about why it is simple and not something that people should shy away from because of how tech savvy the car is.
Look, we all live with smartphones. So this is just an extension of that experience into your vehicle. So it sounds maybe a little bit, I guess for an older generation, it could be challenging. But the more you embrace it, the more you see the value in it. And again, as I said, it's like a smartphone, and the integration can be so powerful if you embrace it.
Yes.
So we actually entice people to come and see the cars and experience what this car can offer. It's really amazing.
And then just in closing, really, people get nervous whenever there's a new car because they're like, let me wait and see what happens to the value. Let me wait and see if people are complaining about parts. Share with us where the brand is at in terms of being ready to service everybody.
Look, when we introduced this brand in the country, we rely heavily on the extensive Stellantis network, which is a national footprint. At the moment, we're just sitting over 30 dealers on a national basis, and we're expanding that within this year to just over 40 dealers, and we'll expand that further in the coming 2027 and as we grow the brands. This was also launched with warranties in place, with backup service, roadside assist, same as what you find on any other car. So we are proud to say that we've got the backing of Stellantis for the Leapmotor brand. Parts will be available, service expertise will be available at the Stellantis dealers, and specific the Leapmotor retail and service dealers. And that's how we look after our clients. We also offer quite a few options in terms of getting into the brand. So we've got monthly installment options, we've got guaranteed future values, finance options, and then also a campaign that we launched recently, More Money to Move.
Yes.
And this is where we actually put quite a lot of investment into a customer in terms of a payment holiday. So you can buy the car now, you pay only in June.
Yes.
And we offer you also a charging facility, extended warranty to show our faith in the product.
Thank you so much for chatting to us around the Leapmotor. And as we continue our conversations with Stellantis, I'm sure we'll hear so much more. So look out for it on the road, or maybe even go through and get a test drive. Now, when your business needs strength, reliability, and serious capability, look no further than the Peugeot Professional Pickup range. Built tough for South African conditions, Peugeot pickups are engineered for fleets, professionals, and agricultural heroes who keep this country moving. From rugged load capacity to fuel-efficient performance, these pickups work as hard as you do. Whether you're building, delivering, or farming, Peugeot has a model that's ready for the job. Visit your nearest Peugeot dealership today and power your business with the confidence of Peugeot Professional. Landtrek, it's pretty tough. It's pretty, rather, but tough.
Part of the 702 family.
My name is Iwet Machinya Timbi. I like this station for I've listened over the years since its inception. 702 is the best. There's no other radio station that can beat 702. Hala, hala, 702.
Welcome to our 702 family. Let's walk the talk.
Imagine beginning your holiday to the sound of the ocean and ending it with a sunset encounter with the Big Five. Club Med is bringing their brand new beach and safari resort to KwaZulu-Natal this July. It's the first of its kind, combining a beachfront escape with a private safari lodge experience all in one holiday. Plus, it's fully all-inclusive. Think gourmet dining, activities, wellness, and more. Take advantage of the Club Med season opening sale from the 24th to the 27th of March. That means it starts today. Book at clubmed.co.za. T's and C's apply.
Don't miss the 8th Annual Human Rights Festival at Constitution Hill from 26 to 29 March. We're bringing together social justice organizations, artists, and the community for 4 days of impact and inspiration. Join us for dialogues, exhibitions, Kiddies Village, the Book Fair, Film Festival, a music element with Friends of Blanco, 1,000 Drums in Solidarity, Gauteng Curator Makers Market, more music, and the We the People Walk and Fit City Run. Visit www.humanrightsfestival.co.za for more information.
There's always one oak. The one oak who's got it all. Proper chair, proper braai, backup light, extra wood cooler that actually keeps ice iced. Now's your chance to be that oak. Join us this Easter for Chamberlain's superb Easter saving from 19 March to 6 April. Grab the 10-coat camping chair for just 449 Rand and gear up properly for a lekker long weekend. Plus, enjoy 10% off paint mixing on Chamber Value and Finest 1903 paints. Chamberlain, famous for hardware since 1903.
Do you suffer from heartburn and hyperacidity? To relieve heartburn for the whole day and night with one tablet, a potent once-a-day treatment which was previously prescription only is now available over the counter. Ask your pharmacist for an over-the-counter, long-lasting heartburn treatment. Brought to you by Sandos.
Thank you so much for joining us on 702 Afternoons. It's just after 3 o'clock.
This is EWN.
Ethics Committee finds Nobuhle Nkabane guilty of gross misconduct and Madlanga Commission on break for the next 3 weeks. A very good afternoon. I'm Monkey Zikoko. Former higher education lodged with the Registrar of Members' Interests by the Democratic Alliance's MP Karabo Khachau, who serves on the Portfolio Committee on Higher Education and Training. The probe found that Nkabinde failed to exercise